A naša sljedeća prezentacija nosi naslov Globalni standardi za održivi turizam. A održat će predsjednik Globalnog vijeća za održivi turizam, gospodin Luigi Cabrini.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for inviting me at this International Rural Congress. I must say I have a special connection with Croatia. I was here for the first time in 2002. I was then Director of Europe for the World Tourism Organization, and in Savtat, it's about, I think, 3 hours south of here, we had a meeting of the tourism authorities of Europe. And since then, I had many opportunities to come back, either professionally or on vacation, alone with my family. So indeed, I think it's a great country. I remember at that time, the promotional slogan of Croatia was the Mediterranean as it once was. And I must say that looking at the Mediterranean looks today, I must say that this is still valid, right? I think you have a feeling of the small villages on the beaches, of the clean waters, which I think makes one aspect of Croatian attractions. But today we're talking more about what's in the inside about rural tourism. My presentation will not be really focusing on rural tourism, though I will make a few references. More, as the title says, on global standard for sustainable tourism. I must say that rural tourism is one segment that has possibly better options to apply some of the sustainability criteria. But let me start first just with a short outlook of where we stand in terms of the recovery of international tourism. This is a UNWTO barometer. As you can see, in 2023, we basically globally recovered the almost totality of the flows of international tourism, though with a few imbalances. Europe is leading the recovery. Other regions like Asia, for example, they're a bit behind for a number of reasons I will not explain here. I must say, however, that this growth, in fact, in Spain, where I live, few destinations have already surpassed the number of tourists there in 2019. During the pandemic, we were saying, well, when we restart again, you remember, airport closed, city deserted. We were really living in a kind of a nightmare. And we were all thinking, well, when we restart again, we're going to do things better than we're doing before. But I'm afraid that the risk that we start back as before is there. So we should be careful, especially because, as I just mentioned, the recovery is going pretty quickly and probably faster than one would have expected. In fact, this is a panel of experts. I'm one of that panel, where they're consulted by the UNWTO staff and asked, where do you think the recovery will actually be finished? And about 1/3 says that it's already there, and most of the other ones says either 24 or just 25. So we're basically back to the previous pre-pandemic. This is a slide taken from the same report that was mentioned by Dora, and there will be, in fact, a UN tourist representative, Patricia Carmona, who's here, will speak about that tomorrow. She was part, I think, of preparing the study. But I just want to mention here why. Because when countries were asked what role rural tourists could have in the recovery, as you can see, almost 100%, 96% yes, the future of rural tourism looks rosy. It's going to be better than in the past. So rural tourism will be one of the segments that will contribute to the tourist recovery. And then this is just a Eurostat data that you can see over 43% of beds are in fact in rural areas. We saw before that Europe has 83% of rural areas. And I must say Europe, especially in my view, with the creation of the European Community and European Union, there has been a lot of changing in the use of land, probably more than in other continents, for the policies of the European Community. These created a profound change. You must have heard, earlier this year, there was a big manifestation from agriculture people in France, in Spain, in Italy. because there are changes which are affecting the life in agricultural areas, and I think possibly tourism could be one of those activities that could help at least somehow reduce the negative impact of what we're living now. So just quickly, what we can say the benefits of rural tourism? Well, creating jobs, strengthening local economy, preservation of heritage. There must be a proud of people living in rural areas of showing what do they have, not only the, I would say especially the intangible area. How do you make food? What is your lifestyle, which urbanites like to see and like to see how it works, how maybe their ancestors were living. And then, of course, it could be an important complement for farmers, together with their traditional activities, but you have a few beds that you can rent out, and therefore you can actually help the family economy. But there are, of course, a number of risks as well, which is the damage to ecosystem, the pollution, loss of wilderness. You may have heard that there is a new movement in the last couple of years called rewilding. This, especially in Europe, these activities where we try to go back in some areas to the wilderness as it was before, because obviously there is a sense that in some areas there is a loss of some of the previous life species and lifestyles. And then, of course, other risk is the increases of the house price and over-reliance on the tourist business, etc. So, benefits and risks. So this is how we approach at the GSTC, the Global Sustainable Council, our approach to sustainable tourism. Maximize benefits, reduce negative impacts. You can never reach a perfect sustainable tourism. That will not exist. But it's just to make that balance the best that we can. So we created back in 2008 the industry criteria addressed to hotels and tour operators. In 2013 we worked on the destination criteria, and just recently, last month, we issued the MICE criteria. A conference like we are today, how can also this conference can be made more sustainable? This is an important complement to many hotels' activities. So we had a lot of demands on working on the MICE criteria, which, as I said, I just issued. And as you can see, our criteria, they are organized in the 4 traditional pillars of sustainability: management, socioeconomic, cultural, and environmental. So I think we are a small organization, but I think I can say that now we're becoming an important reference for governments and non-governments and non-governmental organizations on standards for sustainable tourism. We were born in 2007 with a strong support for the United Nations, the UNF. UNF was a foundation founded by Ted Turner, the former CNN boss, who put $1,000 million available for activities that were not exactly UN objective, but they could contribute to achieve the UN objectives. And among those was giving seed money for organizations like ours. And so thanks to them, we were able to start and then to become financially independent, sustainable. As you can see, our members is really a variety from a big organization, Intercontinental, Booking, Hilton, TUI, organization like WWF. You have Airbnb. You have a lot of governments, and I would like to mention here that all these governments are actually using in a way or another the frameworks created by the standards of the global criteria. Because I will mention how you can use those. Our main use is for accrediting certification program, but being a set of standards, there are basically 42 standards and about 100 indicators. These are very helpful for ministries that want to elaborate sustainable tourist strategies, because we did the work. I was with JSSC from the beginning. We assessed basically all the existing certification program, all the documents existing, and we tried to distill what is the essential of sustainability, so to make it at the same time valuable but comprehensive. And I believe that we somehow managed that, because, I mean, we have a good response, and a good support and a use from, you can see at least, an important number of countries. How do they look like? So this is just to show you, I'll show you just one. This is section 1, A1. So it says that a destination has to have an organization that has the responsibility for having a strategy of sustainability, needs to have the fund, needs to have the staff, etc. And then on the right side, you have these indicators, as I mentioned before, that basically to verify whether that criterion has been met or not. And finally, each criterion has a link to one or more of the SDGs of the United Nations. So we translated these in about 30 languages, and they are available for free in our website. As I say, can be used for free. Universities can use it. Of course, if there is a commercial use, then there is some fees to be paid. So how do we use the criteria? The most important, I think, is the accreditation program. I will talk about it shortly. But you can have also a market access function. We have a project with Booking.com, who is one of our members, that where the hotels that get certified by a GSCC accredited program have a priority in a search on the website, so that people, and there are more and more, and I will show you a slide at the end, people demanding sustainable products, sustainable hotels. So in big OTAs like Booking.com, we're trying to reach critical mass whereby it's possible to choose, and those will constitute the majority. We have a number of training programs on different areas, and assessment of destinations, and I will mention that a bit later as well. So, when we started working on the criteria, we looked at what is the panorama of certification in tourism. We counted about 200 certification programs, and very, very small percentage of a certified product. In other sectors, it's exactly the opposite. You have maybe just a handful of certifiers, and a bigger number of certified products. So what we thought that we should first give a bit more credibility in the market, because we're having so many labels. There is, I would say, a certain misunderstanding and maybe certain doubts about what a certification program, whether it's serious, is credible, what it actually tells to me. So we then created what we, first let me say, why certification is important. Not only increases the operations and reduces the cost, this has been demonstrated over and over. An hotel investment in renewing its energy system will save money as of the third year. And then, of course, you will have more and more market access. I often get the question, yeah, but certifying is costly, it takes money, and I always like to say that it's an investment, not a cost, because, as I just mentioned, in a relatively short period of time, you get return, not only in saving money, but also in a better market positioning. So we created this program, we call it the Assurance Program. Well, certification programs that voluntarily approach us, we look first at their standards, the content of their standards, and if the content of the standards align with the global criteria, then we tell them you have a recognized status. It's a formal letter. We have a panel independent from the Secretariat that make those decisions. The second stage, and is more difficult, is that we're looking not only at the content of the standards, but at the processes. How are you auditing? Are you going on site? Is your auditors separate from your consultants, for example? We saw many certification programs consult and then audit. And we believe that this will not be a guarantee of an impartial process. So while we have, this scale where we believe that from zero verification to a first-party assessment, which is just the basic, I think the best guarantee, the best level of assurance is when you have a third-party certification by an accredited certification body. Today, we have about a handful of those, about 6 or 7 for destinations and hotels. We have about 60 recognized standards, and we hope that the number of accredited will further increase. So what will be the advantage for a certification program? That they can then use the GSCC logo on their accredited product. If a certifier for hotels is accredited, then all these hotels can have the logo of the certifier, let's say Green Key or Control Union, and then can use the GSCC logo close to it. And as I said before, they will participate in market access program in cooperation with such giants like Booking.com. A few examples. TUI has been a member of GSCC from the beginning, has been in our board for many years, and they have basically 80%, but I would say this slide is a bit old. They're about over 90%. All the hotels of their property are certified by a GSCC accredited program. Not only that, but they use the system of preferred contracting, which I think is a very important concept in sustainability. You contract only those companies that use sustainability criteria. So you create, in fact, a chain whereby automatically you force all the supply chain to adopt sustainability principles and criteria. Another example is Hilton, that they have already their sustainability program, and they made a few corrections, and they've aligned it with the GSCC criteria. We have Royal Caribbean, as you know, the second largest cruising company. And as you know, they're very much under scrutiny. Well, I mean, in Dubrovnik here, there has been a lot of talks on how cruising should approach, visiting the city, a few thousand tourists all in a goal. So Royal Caribbean decided that their tour operations on land, when they get to destinations, must be certified by a GSCC accredited program. And I say they reached already 3,500 tours provided, and their aim is that all of their tours will be by certified tour operators. And last but not least, this is, it's a major program that we started with Turkey last year. So Turkey, which has about 20,000 hotels, as you know, it's a tourist power in Europe, and they've created a mandatory program. That means all of their hotels needs to be certified by GSCC program. And they put a date for that. That date is 2030. And those hotels that will not follow that, let's say, path indicated by the Ministry of Tourism will not be in business anymore. So we have the 3 stages. Stage 1, where you have to meet a certain number of criteria. Stage 2, and then stage 3, which is a certificate by a GSCC recognized program or accredited program. And as of today, we already have 16,000 in stage 1. That's a bit, kind of a 3/4 already of the totality of the hotels in Turkey. And we've already, well, it's not a big number, but still 730 almost. They are already fully certified. I think this is a major effort. I think a very difficult program, you may understand, costly program from Turkey. But I think they wanted to bet on having a brand, an image of a country as such that really follows fully sustainability criteria. And we hope that some other countries will follow the same example. But I say for us, it's a very important program, and we're dedicating a lot of energy to it. Finally, this is another word we're using the criteria, is to assess destinations. We have a number of destinations where they would like to see where do they stand in terms of sustainability. So we have a group of experts in different regions of the world, and basically what our experts do is that they make an assessment together with stakeholders, reviewing documentations, and they compare the reality of the destinations with the 42 criteria. And as you've seen, we have done so far 46. One of them, by the way, is Dubrovnik. We have done an assessment of Dubrovnik, and we did, in fact, twice in Dubrovnik. We did an assessment, I think, 4 years ago, and a reassessment very recently. As I mentioned before, Dubrovnik, is one, I think, of the most iconic destinations of the world, but has a few fragilities, of course, just for the shape of the city, because of cruising and a number of other reasons. So they were very interested in knowing what kind of recommendation, we could give to them. And here is just rural areas. As I mentioned before, the GSTC criteria are applicable to all segments, developed destinations, developing destinations, urban area, rural areas. And I must say that for rural areas, we have seen and we've tested in a number of them, and we've seen that they are actually applicable and giving good results. What was the most common finding, I would say, of fragilities in rural areas? The seasonality that was mentioned by Dora before, connectivity and transportation challenges, underdeveloped tourism infrastructure, branding and marketing, market access, community awareness. Not everyone is happy about tourism in a rural area or the way tourism is handled. And then, of course, incentive to attract employment, especially to retain young people that normally wants to go to the cities and have, I would say, more modern job than work in rural tourism. And just a couple of examples. This is Lago Yanquihue in Chile. It's a different it's constellation of village working with rural tourism. So we have done the assessment there. I will not go into the detail, but I'll say this assessment results in a set of specific recommendations for the local authorities and the local stakeholders to follow up. Same have we done with another destinations in Mexico called Sierra Gorda, which is also a protected area, so we had a special fragility. And again, we made a number of recommendations. And I would like to show you how does it look, a final report for a destination assessment. Based on the 4 pillars and the 100 plus indicators, each indicator will get a scoring. Red, whether it's met. Yellow, it's whether partially met. Pink, well, a bit closer to green, and then red, there is no met at all. So you can visualize, this is Sierra Gorda. Just at a glance, where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, and of course our assessment always ends with the report, and we then accompany the local authorities in trying to improve especially the red indicators. So I will conclude then now with I would like to have this polls, this research that was done by Booking.com. That was done right after the pandemics, and it says the number of people thinking sustainability is important has increased a lot, as I mentioned at the beginning, during the pandemic. They say 61% pandemic had made them want to travel more sustainably in the future. But, and I think this is the important message to us, about half of them believe that in 21 and possibly in 24 as well, there are not enough sustainable travel options available. And some admit that they can go to a hotel and they don't find recycling bin. They are annoyed. They feel that they are motivated to be more sustainable, but the hotel or the destination doesn't offer. So my conclusion is that today there is more demand than offer of sustainable tourism. So we all have interest in investing and improving our standards. So finally, this is last conclusion. We're having this year 2 international conferences, one in Stockholm in less than 2 weeks, but we're sold out already. I mean, there is no room anymore. And one in November in Singapore. And there, yes, I would like you have enough time. And if you would like to travel to Asia, you're welcome to come, and we'll be welcome to receive you. And with that, I thank you.
Hvala vam lijepa, gospodine Cabrini. Krenuli smo sa puno dobrih informacija, sa puno zanimljivosti. Ja vjerujem da će tako biti i dalje. Hvala.